Ms. Bryant, will you please come forward and stand next to me in front of the witness chair? Raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that you will truthfully testify in connection with this cause?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. And then you may remove your mask. All right, Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Could you state your name, please, and spell it for the record?
It's Katie, Katie, Ann, A-N-N, Bryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T.
All right, Ms. Bryant, a couple of things to keep in mind when you're testifying. The court reporter that's seated in front of me is taking down everything that's being said. So you have to answer with a yes or a no instead of shaking your head. And please don't say uh-huh or uh-uh. If you don't understand a question, please let the lawyer know. If an objection is made, please stop talking immediately and don't answer the question unless I tell you to, all right? And only one person can talk at a time. So wait until the question's finished before you answer.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bryant, could you tell me how old you are, please?
I am 43,
And what city do you live in?
Minneapolis,
How far did you go in school?
12th grade.
And are you currently employed?
I am.
What do you do for work?
I'm a retail manager.
And are you married?
I am.
And who are you married to?
To Aubrey Wright.
And do you have any children together?
We do.
And what are those? Well, tell me about the children you have together. Who are those children?
Daunte Wright, Diamond Wright, and Destiny Wright.
And could you tell me the ages of your children, please?
Diamond is 19 tomorrow, and Destiny is going to be 15 in January.
And your son Daunte Wright, is he deceased?
Yes.
What was Dante's date of birth?
10/27/2000.
And that makes him your first child with Aubrey, is that right?
Yes,
Did he live with you up until the time of his death?
he did.
And who else lived with you?
Diamond and Destiny.
How old was your son Dante when he died?
He was 20.
And what about his physical condition? Was he in good health?
Yes.
No health issues around the time of his death?
No.
Do you also have some children from a previous relationship?
I do.
And who are they?
Damick Bryant and Dallas Bryant.
And then does your husband have children from a prior relationship as well?
He does.
So how many kids are there in total between you and your husband, Aubrey?
7.
So I'm just going to ask you this to get out of the way. Ms. Bryant, do you have a felony conviction for second-degree controlled substance possession?
I do.
I'm going to ask you some more questions about your family, and I'm going to ask you some questions about your son, Daunte Wright. All right?
Okay.
Maybe you could tell the jury a little bit about Daunte when he was a small child. Could you tell the jury about the kinds of things he liked to do for fun?
Yeah. Daunte, he loved basketball. He actually started playing at a very young age, all the way through high school. He was funny. He was a jokester. He liked to make everybody laugh. He had a smile that would light up a room. He was amazing. He was my son.
As he grew up, did he get jobs as well?
He did. He did.
What kind of work did he do?
He was in retail, and then he also worked some fast food.
Was there a place he was working shortly before he died?
He was at Taco Bell and Famous Footwear.
And Famous Footwear, did he work there with his dad?
He did.
And shortly before his death, was he planning to go back to school?
Yes, he actually enrolled in Summit Academy about 2 months before he was killed.
Maybe you could tell the jury what Summit Academy.
It's a. I am not 100% sure what Summit Academy is, but I know that they do like masonry. It's like a program where they train you to be in a career. Carpentry, masonry, and I know there's some other programs that they offer.
Was he planning to pursue any particular career at that point?
He talked about carpentry, but wasn't set on it.
Now, your son, Daunte Wright, does he have children? Are there children that he has of his own?
He does. He has a 1-year-old son,
Okay. And what's his son's name?
Daunte Jr.
How old is Daunte Jr.?
He just turned 2 in July.
He turned 2 in July. When was he born?
He was born July 12th
Okay.
of 2019.
And who is Junior's mother?
Her name is China Whitaker.
Your Honor, at this point, I would plan to offer some Spark of Life photographs. I understand that there's no objection to foundation, but we would offer exhibits 3 and 4 at this time.
Is there any objection to 3 and 4 other than?
Other than it, no. Other than a record.
Okay. Exhibits 3 and 4 will be admitted over defense objections.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I would ask for permission to publish Exhibit 3, please. May we publish?
Yes, you may. Excuse me.
Ms. Bryant, there should be an image that you can see on your screen. And there, now it's published for the jury. Can you describe to me what's pictured, describe for the jury what's pictured here?
This picture was last July, and it was Daunte Jr.'s first birthday. We had a barbecue at China's house.
And is this a picture of your son Daunte with his son Daunte Jr.?
Yes.
Did your son Daunte have a close relationship with his son?
He did. Daunte Jr. was at our house often, at least 3 or 4 times a week, if not more.
And if we could publish Exhibit 4, please. Exhibit 4 is now on the screen. Could you describe for the jury the photo here, please?
This is when we took him out to eat at Teppanyaki Grill after Daunte Jr. was born. When Daunte Jr. was born, he was only 28 weeks. China was only 28 weeks along, and he was very premature. And he had to stay in the hospital for about 3 or 4 months. So that's when we took Daunte out for dinner to congratulate him on his son.
And did your son Daunte spend time at the hospital with Daunte Jr. while he was there?
He did. The bracelet that's on his hand is actually the hospital band to be able to get into the ICU unit, to be able to see Daunte Jr.
And you said that Daunte Jr. was in the hospital for 3 or 4 months. Was your son Daunte regularly at the hospital during that time period?
He was. He actually was able to feed him his first time with you'd have to feed him with a Q-tip. You would dip it in milk. So he was able to do that for his first feeding, and he visited often.
After Daunte Jr., was Daunte Jr. eventually released from the hospital?
He was.
Did your son Daunte continue his relationship with Daunte Jr.?
He did.
Tell the jury about that relationship, how you would see him and what they would do together.
He was very proud to be a father. He was also a worried dad just because he was premature about him sleeping, and because he did sleep a lot as a premature baby, and he was really worried about that. He would play with him. He would do everything that a father needs to do for his child. He was an amazing dad.
So, Ms. Bryant, and take your time, please, but I'm going to ask you some questions about April 11th of this year, okay? Could you tell the jury what you were doing that day?
I had Daunte Jr., he stayed the night, and it was just an average day. We woke up, he ate, he liked, his favorite is the mini chocolate chip pancakes. And he was eating breakfast, watching Coco Melon, and it was time for his nap. That was around 12 something that afternoon.
And did you end up were you watching Daunte Jr. By yourself for part of that day?
Yes.
And then did you end up seeing your son Daunte later on in the day?
I did.
Could you describe that interaction for the jury, please?
Daunte came home in the afternoon, and I was laying Daunte Jr. down at the time. He knocked on the bedroom door, and he asked for $50 because he wanted to go get a car wash, and he said he needed gas. And I told him to be really quiet, take it out of my purse. So he took it out of the purse, he leaned over the bed, he gave Daunte Jr. a kiss goodbye, and I yelled at him again and told him, please don't wake him up, like I just got him to sleep. And then he left. I told him to make sure he locks the door on his way out.
So you indicated that your son Daunte Wright was on his way to get a car wash and had gotten some money from you for that. What was the car that your son Daunte Wright was driving?
A white 2011 Buick LaCrosse.
And was that Daunte's car?
Yes.
And how did that come to be?
It was one of our older vehicles. It was in my other son's name. But we ended up giving it to him as his first car like 2 weeks before he was killed.
And when you say giving it to him, was he the only one who was driving the car in that 2 week period?
Yeah, he was the only one that had access, that he had a key to the car. It was his.
But was the car still registered to your other son?
It was still registered to my son Dallas.
I'm sorry, I missed the answer on that.
Yes, it was still registered to Dallas.
And what about the insurance on that car?
We did not transfer over insurance yet, so we were going to add it to our current insurance policy.
But that hadn't been done yet?
No.
On April 11th, did you go into that car, have any interaction with Daunte in that car?
No, I did not.
And had you been in that car or driven that car, used that car in that 2 week period prior?
No, I have not.
Okay. So getting back to April 11th, after Daunte, your son Daunte Wright, took money to get a car wash, what happened after that?
He called probably about 10 minutes after he left the house, and he asked me what car wash we usually go to, because we have a specific car wash that we go to in Fridley off of University. And I told him that, and he was like, well, isn't there one in Brooklyn Park? And I said, well, yeah, I think it's Mr. Car Wash. And he said he was going to go to that car wash. And I said, okay, don't call back again, because I was really adamant about Junior not waking up.
And is Junior what you call Daunte's son, Daunte Jr.?
Yes, Daunte Jr.
And was your concern just not waking up Junior?
Yes, not waking Junior up.
So after that call where you discussed which car wash to go to, was there a second call after that?
There was.
And about how much later was that?
Oh my gosh, maybe 10, 15 minutes later.
And what was the nature of that second call?
He called me to tell me that he has been pulled over. And I asked him, I said, for what? and he said that the police officer said that he had an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. So at that time I told him, I said, well, you should take it down. And he said he already did. And then he said that they were also asking about insurance information. And I told him to, when the police officer gets back to the window, to please hand him the phone so I could explain the insurance and give him my insurance policy that we haven't added it yet.
When you talked to your son, Daunte, how did he sound to you during that call?
He sounded nervous, scared. He asked, if he was in trouble. I said, no, you haven't done anything wrong. And he just sounded really nervous. But I reassured him that it would be okay.
Take your time. When he placed these calls to you, how were you receiving these calls? Was it through a cell phone network or some other way?
It was through Facebook Messenger. It was voice calls. He didn't have phone service at the time, so he was calling through Facebook Messenger.
And so after you had this initial conversation with your son, Daunte, about wanting to talk to the officers, what happened after that?
I heard the police officer come back up to the window and he asked Daunte to step out of the vehicle. And Daunte asked, for what? Am I in trouble? And I heard the officer say, I need you to just put the phone down, step out of the vehicle, and I'll let you know as soon as you step out of the vehicle. And then at that time, I heard the phone either being placed on an object, whether it was, dropped on the floor or placed on the dash, I'm not sure, but I could hear the phone being put down. And then I heard the officer telling Daunte, no. And I heard Daunte say, no, I'm not. It sounded like he said, don't run. Daunte said, no, I'm not. And then I heard them say, somebody tell somebody to hang up the phone. And then that's all I heard.
Did the phone disconnect at that
It did.
time? After the phone disconnected, then you heard what you described. What happened next?
I was panicked. I called back. It seemed like 100 times, but I believe it was probably maybe 4 or 5 times, and I kept calling. So finally I FaceTimed. I would say I don't know how much time lapsed, maybe a minute or two. And then a female answered the phone because it was FaceTime. And she was screaming. And I was like, what's wrong? And she said that they shot him. And she faced the phone towards the driver's seat. And my son was laying there. He was unresponsive, and he looked dead. And then I heard somebody say, hang up the phone again. And it disconnected again.
So after that phone call disconnected, or you said it was a video call at that point, so you got to see your son Daunte. What did you do after that video call?
I grabbed my grandson and I called my husband because he wasn't home. I said, they just shot Daunte. And he said, what? And he said that they just shot him. And I said they just shot him. The police officer just shot Daunte. They have no clue where they are. And I hung up with him. And then I called 911 because I needed to find out where my son was.
And did you, in fact, make that call to 911?
I did.
What did you learn when you made that call?
they transferred me to a few different police stations. They said my son was just shot by a police officer and I need to know where he is. And they transferred me to, I think it was Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center. I don't remember which police station or which 911 operator answered, but they gave me an address of 63rd and Catherine, and I put it in my GPS, and I grabbed my grandson, and I got into my vehicle, and my neighbors heard me screaming because I like fell to the ground because I didn't know what to do. So she helped me up. She put us into the vehicle, and then she drove us to 63rd and Catherine
And this
in
is
Brooklyn Center.
a neighbor who drove you and Daunte Jr.?
Yes.
And about how long did it take for you to get to that location?
Oh, it seemed like forever. I felt like we weren't getting there fast enough, but probably 7-8 minutes, maybe a little bit longer.
And is that where you went to that location at 63rd and Catherine?
Yes.
And what did you see when you got there?
So we were driving down Brooklyn Boulevard, coming up to 63rd, and there was a lot of traffic, a lot. And so I got out of the car because I could see, when we were waiting to turn, I could see all the police lights, probably about 6 blocks down. And I got out of the car and I started running towards Catherine because the traffic wasn't moving fast enough. And then the car that I was in ended up catching up with me, and I got back in for another 2 blocks. And then I got out again and ran the last 2 blocks to where all the yellow tape was. And then I went under the yellow tape because I seen a car crash, and I noticed it was my son's car. And then in the front of his car is where he was laying.
Did you see your son's body on the ground?
I did.
So what did you do when you got to that area?
I was so distraught. I didn't know what was happening. I just got off the phone and they said he shot him, but I seen a car crash. I was asking questions. I didn't want to believe that was my son laying there on the ground, but I could tell it was him because of his tennis shoes.
And when you say you could tell it was him because of his tennis shoes, was it only part of his body that was visible to you?
They had a white sheet over him.
But you recognized his shoes?
Yeah.
Your Honor, at this time I would offer Exhibit 6. Again, I understand that there's no foundational objection to that exhibit.
And what is Exhibit 6?
It's a video of Ms. Bryant arriving on scene.
All right. Is it no objection? Exhibit 6 will be admitted into evidence, and you may publish, counsel.
Thank you.
Touch me, I swear, fuck you. I swear, I don't know anything. Who are you? I am Katie Bryant, his mom. I want to see you now. Please. He's over 20.
I don't know what's going on.
I know what's going on.
What happened?
He FaceTime lagged.
Ma'am, I'm going to get you somebody to talk to. I'm going to get you someone to talk to. Okay? But I just can't have you going over there right now, okay?
Ma'am, my name is Mark. What is your name? Can I have you sit on the light show?
You guys shot him. Why?
I don't know. I wasn't here.
Why? Because he had a warrant? Are you fucking serious? I was here. I watched it.
Can you just sit down? Tell me what's going on, because I wasn't here.
No. We're car with him. You guys made her hang up Facebook Live so you could kill my son. That's pretty pathetic.
What is your name? What is your name?
My name is Katie Bryant. My son's name is Daunte Wright. You guys already know that.
I don't. Katie Brian.
It was a high-speed
sorry.
chase.
Brian?
How?
And then what's your son's name?
Daunte Wright. It was not a high-speed chase. You guys shot him in a pull-over traffic.
I
You
didn't
guys
do anything, ma'am.
Yeah, you did. He was laying in his front seat dead. His girlfriend Facebooked me. How did his car get smashed?
What's his name again?
Daunte Wright.
Right? Is it W-R-I-G?
W-I-G-H-T.
Okay. Is it Katie?
Yeah.
Bryant.
Yeah.
All right. Just wait a second here, ma'am.
I need you to just sit down, please.
Ma'am?
Just sit down. Okay, so I wasn't here. You said there was a traffic stop and they shot
They
him?
pulled him over, and he said non-verbal warrant. I said, oh no, they asked him to get out of the car. He got out of the car, and they said, wait, stop. They said, stop. And then she goes, and then they shot him, and he fell back in the seat. And he was laying in the driver's seat, and she said, they shot him. And I said, what do you mean they shot him? She said, yeah. And then they told her to hang up, and that was it. I don't know nothing else. So I had to call you guys to find out where this happened.
I really don't know more because I just came because I heard there was trouble.
Why is my car smashed up?
I don't know.
I don't know.
This deputy here wasn't, we weren't here, but
I'm
Is he alive?
I do not know the condition. I
Are
don't
you
know.
guys serious? What are you talking to me for then?
I'm going to find out.
We're gonna find out, but we have to wait and find out who's involved and who's in charge, and get you in contact with the people that know what's
Tell me
going
your name
on.
so I can tell him who I'm talking to.
I'm gonna start exchanging.
We are also trying to figure out what's going on.
You can stop. Thank you. Ms. Bryant, I know that was tough to watch. Can you just describe for the jury what you were feeling when you arrived on scene?
I was praying that that wasn't him laying on the ground. That it was the person in the other car. And that he was in the back of a cop car. I was so confused, angry, scared. It was the worst day of my life. And
You said that you were praying that it wasn't him, but in your heart, having recognized those shoes, did you feel like you knew?
I knew, but I didn't want to know. I was biting the insides of my cheeks. I still have scars on the insides of my cheeks because I thought it was a dream. And if I bit the insides of my cheeks, that I would wake up. But I didn't wake up.
You know, in the video you described that you were there and that you watched it. What did you mean by that?
That when I FaceTimed back while I was on the phone prior, so I heard the conversation between the officer and Daunte before he had to get out of the car, and that after, when I FaceTimed the female that was in the car, I could see what happened, and she said what happened, that she was shot by the police officer that was there at the time.
That he was shot, your son Daunte?
My son Daunte was shot, yes.
And you had mentioned, I think, Facebook Live, but is that video call, the FaceTime or video messenger call that you are describing?
Yes, Messenger Live.
Okay. About how long did you stay in that area after this?
Hours, 8 to 9 hours. I felt like I couldn't leave because I begged them to take his body off the ground. I didn't want to leave until he left.
At some point, did your husband join you as well?
He did.
And did someone come to pick up Daunte Jr., your grandson who was with you?
Yes, China ended up coming to get him.
You said that you waited on scene until they removed your son Daunte's body. Were you ever given an opportunity to approach or see him close up on that day?
No, I wasn't.
Excuse me, I objected as not relevant.
The objection is overruled. You may answer.
No, I wasn't able to approach him at all.
And what was going through your head while you were waiting for all those hours?
That I wanted to go comfort my baby. I wanted to hold him. And I wanted to protect him because that's what mothers do. You protect your children. You make sure that they're safe.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further. May we have a brief sidebar?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Gray?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mrs. Bryant. I have a few questions. With respect to the automobile, the Buick, it was in Dallas's name, is that right?
Yes.
And how long had it been in Dallas's name?
For a few years since we've owned it.
Now, remember how many years we owned it? Would that be you?
Well, yes, my son, I drove it in the beginning, like years ago when we purchased it.
Okay.
But my son ended up putting it in his name after that.
And how old is Dallas?
Dallas is 24.
All right, so you'd be 3-4 years older than your son?
Yes.
And you testified that you're close to your son, is that right?
I'm close to all my children, yes.
Okay, but you also testified that you're close to your son, correct?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, did you have car insurance on this Buick?
We did not.
All right. And with respect to your son, Daunte, did you know whether or not he had a driver's license?
I did know that he did not have a driver's license.
You knew he didn't have one, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And you knew his license was suspended, correct?
I did not know that.
Well, did he ever have a driver's license?
No.
So he's 20 years old with no driver's license. Fair statement?
Yep.
And were you also aware of his marijuana usage?
I was not.
Did you ever go inside the Buick while he had it parked at your house?
I did not.
And did you know that he had a warrant for his arrest?
I did not.
How did you know when you ran up to the police that he had a warrant? You said, my son was shot for a warrant.
Because that's what somebody on the side of the street said when I was running up to them.
You know who said that?
I don't know. There's a lot of people out there that day.
And you testified that Daunte was staying at your house?
He was.
The 2 weeks prior to his death, was he staying there every night?
Not every night.
And how many nights of the 2 weeks before that did he actually stay at your house?
If I had to give an estimate, probably 4 or 5 nights out of the week.
And with respect to his girlfriend, how long was he dating her? Did you know?
Only for a few weeks.
A week?
A few weeks.
Or 2 weeks? Or was it a few weeks?
To give an estimate, a few. I'm not sure.
Did you ever meet her?
I did not personally meet her, no.
And when he arrived at your house that day, he wanted $50 for gas and a car wash, correct?
Correct.
And she did not come into the house with him, correct?
She did not.
You gave a statement to law enforcement on April 15th, 2021. Do you remember that?
I do.
And have you reviewed that statement before you came to testify today?
I did.
And it is true, is it not, that when you went to that statement, you had 3 lawyers, or 2 lawyers at least, actually 3 lawyers, that represented you at the time. Is that correct?